4 or 5 different stocks that you like, stuff that you probably use every day. If people know they can come to your OnlyFans and learn how to produce a track, they're gonna subscribe. Do this for years. This is long term. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I wanted to discuss, kind of like go back to the 401ks, but talk about it in a different perspective, which far as the IRA, individual retirement account. This is actually for when people are no longer working at their job. They decided to leave for some reason or whatever. And the typical situations is if they're not working at the job anymore, people sometimes would go ahead and say, hey, well, I got all this money in my 401k. I don't work there no more. And they would take the money out. It may work. It might be helpful or whatever. But in most cases, you don't have to take your money out. You can continue investing. And some people might not know how to do it. And what you would do, whether it's Fidelity or whatever company you're going through, you call them and you say, hey, I'm no longer working at the job I was at, but I still want to keep my money in there. How do I go about it? And most likely, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but most likely they'll tell you have to roll over your money. And when you roll over your money, it's going to be an individual retirement account, which is the initials IRA, if anyone that doesn't know what that means. And so when you roll over your roll over into an IRA, first, like this is what I did. Because sometimes we borrow money from ourselves, right? And then we pay it back. Say you've already borrowed money from yourself and you haven't paid it all back. But now you don't work at the job no more and you need to roll it over to an IRA. So you don't have to roll it over. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to do nothing. But you want to be able to continue to put money in and everything. And if it's on a 401k, you can't put money into a 401k. It has to be come straight from the person that you're employed by. And if you're no longer employed by them and you want to keep money going in there and you want to keep everything moving, then that's going to be the rollover part. Let's say you owe money because you had borrowed some money from yourself and you was paying it back. But now you no longer have a paycheck going into there and you don't no longer have a way to pay it back. So you would say, hey, once you roll over your money, you can say, hey, don't roll over all of it. Keep a couple thousand in there because the stock is still going to go up and down. And they'll do is connect your bank account to the account. Now, every account doesn't allow partial payments or whatever, but most likely you should be able to do that. And then you agree with them what you want coming out, whether it's $50, $100 a month or whatever every 2 weeks. And then they'll start taking money out to pay the loan back that you borrowed. So now you can set that up, making sure the money gets paid back because you don't have to pay the money back. But the problem is once you roll it over to IRA, now they know that money is missing that you borrowed, and now there can be some penalties on that money, or they can right away, there's going to be some taxes on that money. And if you're not ready to pay taxes on that money, or if you don't want any penalties and lose majority of your money for the penalties, you want to set it up. You want to roll over majority, almost all of your money except for a few thousand that can stay in there and while you pay back the money that you owe. Now, at any given time, if you got a lump sum of money and you want to go ahead and pay all the money back, say you owe $1,000, you say, okay, I got $1,000. You can say, hey, I'm gonna pay this $1,000 back to myself, and then once the $1,000 is paid back, then you can roll over the rest of the money to your IRA, or you can keep it there. But if you want to have control of your money, you go ahead and roll it over. But you can't roll over all of it if you still owe some money. You can, but you don't want to. You want to say, hey, I'm going to keep this amount of money over here, a couple thousand or whatever, until I pay all my money back, and then I'm going to roll over the rest of the money. Okay, now let's go over to the money that you did roll over. The money that you did roll over, now it's just sitting there in limbo. Now, I'm sure you can talk to your provider and say, hey, I would like y'all to invest my money, which is probably, it's going to cost because now you're in control of it. You're not going through your job anymore. You can get them to invest your money. It's going to become with a fee. Or it depends on if you're the type of person that knows how to invest in everything. Now, I have learned how to invest a little bit, even though I don't, have no real big system or nothing like that. But I have learned how to invest. But when it's roll over into an IRA, it's not like other accounts where you can do taxes, Webull, all that. It's not like that. It's set up that you'll see your money sitting in there, all these thousands of dollars, and you have to know the names of the company that you want to invest in, and you have to start investing because now it's on your own. You're in control of your money, and and I set it up to because they was asking me what did I want did, and I said, well, give me some options. What can I do? And what they said is you can set it up to like a regular retirement account that when you trade money and everything, even if you sell something, they're not going to make you pay taxes on it right away if you don't take any money out of the account. If you physically don't take money out of the account, you don't have to worry about no penalties. You don't have to worry about no taxes at that moment. So you can trade and everything. But now back to looking into the account, it's going to look different because it ain't like you can scroll up and down and just look and see, ooh, I want to invest in that. Ooh, I want to invest in Nike or whatever. You have to actually know what you're looking for, which is a little weird if you've never did taxes. That's why I said taxes. If you've never did stock. Because first I didn't understand it because I'm thinking it was going to look like all the other stuff. All the other stock accounts that I done looked in. It don't. You have to, before you start looking at anything, you have to know what you want to invest in. Go looking up some stuff or whatever. Just so happens I have a stock outside of that. I had stock outside of Fidelity, outside of my job and all that. So once I called them a couple times and asked them what's going on, how do I operate, then I figured it out. So I go into my other stock page and start looking at the ticklers, the names and everything. And so, okay, I'm gonna do that stock. I'm gonna do that stock. But I knew what stocks was doing terrible that I wasn't going to put into my money, my retirement money, because it gave me a little bit of heads up because I kind of like been messing with the stock already. So I go, the basic ones that I know just probably never going out of business. Yes, the stock market is messed up right now, but I look at it as it's just a sale going on. The prices has dropped down. It's a sale going on. So I'm going to buy this stuff at a sale. Eventually, the sale is not going to be there anymore, and it's going to go up, and I'm going to profit off of it. So I looked at the ones like Amazon, Nike, stuff, I looked at that, and plus I had a couple tips on some other stocks from some other people I didn't talk to. I was looking at these things and like, okay, I can do this, I can do that. I'm not going to do that. The cannabis, I don't know about that because I already got cannabis stock and that's not doing nothing. And if it does, I already got, I was just looking like the do's and the don'ts and looking. And so since I had thousands of dollars to work with, I started, hey, 2,000 on that, 1,000 on that. This is kind of cheap, 500 on that. I started doing that, but I didn't spend all my money. I left a few thousand in there. So if I get some more tips and stuff like that, I can go ahead and operate like that. So now I figured that out, but of course, it's other ways that you can get the money, which you want to do a direct rollover. A direct rollover is them putting the money into a broker's account for you, an individual retirement account. So that way you don't have to worry about too much of nothing. They have an indirect rollover, which they send the money to you. And then you have to put it in a qualified retirement account. Like it can be your next job, it can be whatever. But the problem with that is you got 60 days to put it into another qualified account. That's when, if you don't put it into another qualified account, that's when they start doing penalties and taxes. And you might think, oh, I got 60 days. I can play the lottery. I can gamble 1,000. I can gamble 2,000. That might even work, but at this point, you don't want to mess around with that money. You don't want to. You want to go ahead and do a direct rollover. Don't have them send that to you, because that much money in your hands, you're going to try to do something. Oh, I'll do this when I get paid. I'll just replace it. It typically never works how you think it's going to work. It typically never works how you think it's going to work. So you would do the direct rollover. Don't mess with the indirect rollover. Unless you got something that's so for sure. And I don't know. Let me leave that alone. Do the direct rollover. When you do the direct rollover, they go ahead and put it into a qualified individual retire account for you. And then you get to asking questions and what type of IRA you want and all that other good stuff. And they'll work that out for you, the company that you're going through. And then once you get everything set up, once you done set it up, if you didn't already borrow money from yourself, you just set that up so you got payments still going into that, paying that off, so you don't get no penalties or nothing like that, or start taking taxes out. Then you basically on your way. You just got to figure out what, because now your money just sitting there. They're not investing it for you. You got to invest it yourself. That's what I had to find out. I kept on calling like, it's my, now it will gain interest if just sitting there. It will gain interest if you don't invest it in nothing. Just not going to be a lot of interest. But at the same time, you want to go ahead and get your money invested in some stuff. So you might get them to do it for you, and which it's going to come with a cost. I don't know how much they'll charge you or whatever, but it's going to come with a cost. Me, myself, I didn't want that. Now, the bonds and stuff, I haven't got into that yet, but that's next when I'm going to put some money into, and I'm going to call them and talk to them about that. But, yes, don't panic once you lose the job and all that money is in there. Just call them up there and say, hey, I wanna switch my money into an IRA, individual retirement account, so you can keep the money going. And as you see right here on the screen, you got the traditional and you got the Roth. And it kind of like breaks it down a little bit. It's a little clearer which both of them, what they do, or when you can take your money out, or what might happen and what might not happen. And then it's a little just asking questions. If you don't know, you pick up the phone, you say, hey, what does this mean? Hey, what can I do in this situation? And they'll tell you. And then as time go by, if you need some more questions, don't be afraid to pick up the phone, call a company, and ask them some more questions. It really is that simple, even though it don't seem that simple. But yes, if you lose your job, go ahead and get it rolled over into an IRA, individual retirement account, and keep things going. Yes, once you set it up like that, it's going to go back in and ask you who your beneficiaries are and all that. Just in case you pass away, you want to set that up too. Set that up, who you would want to take over your money if for some reason you pass away before you get your money. You don't want your family fighting over money once everything is over. You want to know this is who it's going to. And it even let you, if it's more than one person, 2 or 3 people, it'll divvy it up. If you say I want to divvy it up evenly, it'll say the percentages each person get everything. So it's not a hard situation. And if you don't understand it the first time, you log off, you go back the next day or the next 2 days, you log back on until you understand what's going on. Don't just get in there and start pushing stuff or whatever. But you want to look at all of the things that's going on and read some stuff. You ain't got to read everything at once. Read a little and go back and think about it. Go back, read a little. until you start understanding. Have conversations with other people that's doing the same thing that you're doing, and so y'all can trade information, share notes. But this is what you want to do. A IRA, if you lose your job and you got money in there, 401k, individual retirement account. Sorry about that. All right, y'all. I eat knowledge for breakfast.